Hey everyone, we are here at IDA headquarters in Tucson, Arizona with our friend and IDA volunteer Sriram Murali. Sriram is here from his home in
San Francisco.
San Francisco, California. He flew into Tucson a couple of days ago and spent all day yesterday with us. Sriram, do you want to talk a little bit about why you're here in Tucson?
Yeah. So I recently started volunteering with the IDA, and I'm currently working on a documentary movie on astronomy and light pollution. So the movie is going to be about why astronomy is important in our lives and the significance of astronomy, and that fighting light pollution does not mean sacrificing necessary lighting. So I am here in Tucson to talk to the IDA staff, IDA staff, and interview them. IDA is doing a lot of really great work to protect and preserve the night skies. So I'm here I was interviewing the IDA staff yesterday, all day yesterday.
Well, we really appreciate you being here and taking an interest in the work that we are doing. We kind of got to know each other a little bit because of your film Lost in Light, which tracks the impact of light pollution on the night sky. And I guess I wanted to just take a little bit of time to talk about how you got interested in the issue of light pollution and in wanting to look up at the stars.
Um, I remember when I was in 10th grade back in school back in a small town in India, I had a chapter in physics called the universe. It went into the details of the Big Bang theory, the Milky Way galaxy, the nebulae, the planets, and everything else. And I was really looking forward to that class, but the school thought it was not as important and very theoretical, and asked us to self-learn. In fact, in one of the classes, I asked a question: how do we know the shape of the Milky Way galaxy, that it's spiral, if we are inside of it? So I was actually told that I'm disturbing the class and not to ask more questions. That was pretty disappointing. But the nice thing was I learned I learned all the material myself, and that inspired, that gave me a curiosity. I started asking questions, but unfortunately there weren't many people around me to answer those questions. Then I came over here to the United States to do my master's, and I remember going to Yosemite several years ago, and I looked up at the night skies, and there were so many stars. The skies were full of stars. My friends and I couldn't believe what we were looking at. It felt unreal. And at that point, I went back home and started reading about how light pollution impacts the night skies, and I realized that Mount Shasta in California is actually one of the best places in all of California for the night skies. And ever since, I've been hooked on to light pollution. And when I started, I was actually very dejected at one point that I hadn't been exposed to astronomy very early in my life. But rather than cribbing about it, photographing the night skies was one of the ways I could express myself, my views about the universe and the night skies. So when I started photographing the night skies, I would show the photos to my friends and family. Oftentimes, the reaction I would get is, "How can there be so many stars? This cannot be real. You're doing something."
They
That
didn't believe you.
they didn't believe me. That was very disappointing. I mean, even people who travel a lot, it was very unfortunate that they couldn't believe that. So at that point, it was very saddening and disappointing. So I wanted to, first of all, prove I'm right and these stars really exist. So I made a short film, the Lost in Light film, going to different levels of light pollution from San Jose. I concentrated this in California because I live in California. Started from San Jose in California and went all the way to Death Valley, the middle of nowhere, Death Valley in California, and showed what the night skies look like at each light pollution level, progressing from cities to the desert in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and so if you're just joining us, I want to just remind everyone that this is Sriram Murali, and he is a filmmaker who wrote who created Lost in Light. It's a film about the impact of light pollution on our night skies, and we've actually linked right to his videos in the description of this video. So if you want to take a minute and go check it out, please do. Sriram is also a volunteer for IDA and does a lot of advocacy around the issue of light pollution and helping people to understand the issue and what they can do about it. I'd like to invite you, if you don't mind, to submit a question. I see Adam James's comment here. Thank you very much for your comment of outstanding work. We really appreciate your appreciation of our work, and we're really happy to be here. So again, please feel free to submit any comments or questions that you have for us, and we'll try to answer them here. But I wanted to just take a minute. Sriram, can you talk a little bit about the volunteer work that you've done, and maybe a little bit about, you talked about how you didn't have a lot of understanding of astronomy. You didn't have the time to put into it when you were first introduced to the idea in middle school. And then you went out and started to look at the night sky and take an interest in astronomy, and you really wanted to understand kind of what's out there a little bit more. And I think that sort of led you to wanting to talk to people about light pollution and what the issue is. And you've taken on a really important role in the dark sky community. So can you talk about some of the work that you've done to help people understand that issue?
Yeah, definitely. So to begin with, the problem of light pollution, I think, is not really understood. I feel that there's not enough awareness about light pollution among the public. I think that when people know about the issue, more people will start caring about it. So when I showed the short film, the Lost in Light, there was a lot of. I'd actually made the short film for my friends and family to believe me, but I was really surprised that it got a lot of attention. It was published on the National Geographic. It was played at film festivals all over the country, and people
and around the world, right?
Around the world, actually. Yeah. Around the world, actually. Yeah. So a lot of people had questions about light pollution. Students, teachers, policymakers from Europe, from Asia. It was really fascinating to see that this small 3-minute video could make so much impact. And I was in the San Francisco Green Film Festival, and I saw so many documentary films on the environmental issues of this time. And I realized that movie is a really powerful medium to deliver this message. And my short film, though it shows the effects of light pollution, it does not go into the details of what are the other effects of light pollution, how it affects our health, then wildlife, and our ecology, and cost. It costs a while. Light pollution costs a ton of money. So I wanted to make a documentary movie, showing the work of all the nonprofit organizations, and also see that astronomy is really significant in our lives. And there are so many nonprofit organizations like the International Dark Sky Association, National Park Service, Sea Turtle Conservancy, Audubon Society. There's not a lot of awareness about what these people do to preserve the night skies and protect these fragile environments and the ecology. And yeah, definitely, I've been passionate about this for a few years now, and joining IDEA as a volunteer has only increased this so much. I feel even more responsible whenever I feel down with way too much work. The feeling that I'm part of this dark sky movement and I'm part of International Dark Sky Association, that gives me a lot of motivation and inspiration.
Well, thank you for your commitment and for your work. I was hoping we could talk a little bit about, what motivates you to do this work and why you think dark skies are so important.
Yeah, so it's mind-boggling to think of how massive the universe is, how there are so many galaxies out there, just like our Milky Way. I like to travel. My wife and we like to travel a lot. I like to explore, especially natural things. We love going to the national parks, and astronomy is exploring in the biggest way possible.
Yeah.
When I'm under the night skies, a sky full of stars, I feel so small, yet it gives us a sense of belonging. It's what we have in common. It gives us perspective. The stars are what unites us. I feel that looking at the night skies and having an understanding for what we're looking at, how far these things are, makes us more kind, makes us better human beings, makes us treat human beings better, animals better. So it makes us mentally healthier, going out to the wilderness, looking at the night skies. So for that aspects of the philosophical aspects of astronomy interests me more than anything else. And say if you're staying in a cabin looking at the Grand Canyon, or if you have a great view of the Grand Canyon or the Niagara Falls, would you actually close the window and not have the view for yourself? The night skies and light pollution is actually that window that you close, and we stop ourselves from seeing the beauty of the night skies.
Yeah, light. I like that. Light pollution is the window that we close to the night sky. That's really beautiful. Okay, so you talked a little bit about your first experience under a night sky and being so moved by all of the stars that you saw, and wanting to tell your family about it, and them not believing you that there's so many stars in the world. So then you started photographing the night sky. Why don't you talk a little bit about that work, the astrophotography, and maybe some of the challenges that you experienced when you first started this work?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge in actually photographing the night sky is actually traveling to these places. These places are so far. I mean, people often look at these photographs and then wonder, why can I not see this where I live, or 30 miles from where I live. The problem is you currently, at least in California, you have to travel at least 2 to 3 hours to go away from the cities to look at these night skies, pristine night skies. So the biggest challenge is actually traveling to these extremely remote places. And then it takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, because it takes a lot of trial and error to because and then there are so many things that go into it. You have to track the weather for weeks, because you want to make sure that it's clear when you go out there, and then there are no clouds, and then and make sure there's no moon, because when the moon's out, it washes out all the stars. And then preparing what do you want to shoot, and then usually I spend about 2 to 3 hours at any given location. So, and also, yeah, a lot of sleep deprivation due to that. So the biggest challenge is actually getting to those places
and getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
So what would you tell someone that's just getting into filmmaking or who wants to photograph the night sky?
As I said, it's more than anything. It's if you're passionate about it, you will learn. So I'm not a professional photographer, or I didn't go to school to learn photography. It's just the passion. If you have an interest for it, if you're really passionate about it, um, then I think your passion will drive you to learn photography. It's not that difficult. It takes a lot of patience and lot of preparation, knowing where you're going, when you're going, and what the place looks like well before you're there.
So be prepared.
Be prepared. Yeah.
Do your research.
And yes,
Be
sometimes
prepared.
when you're in California, I mean, don't go to places where there are bears in the night, like around lakes and forests where there are bears. Be safe.
Did you have
Be
bad
safe out
experience
there.
with bears?
I've never had. I mean, I once saw a fox that almost tripped over my setup, but it was a small red fox. I think it was in Utah, but
So you were able to avoid the bears because you were prepared.
yeah.
So we're here in Tucson, Arizona at IDA headquarters, and Sriram has spent a couple of days with us learning a little bit more about our organization, and maybe this is a good opportunity for you to talk about the work that you're doing currently.
Yeah, so currently I'm working on a documentary movie on astronomy and light pollution. Say that astronomy is really significant in our lives, and then what are the effects of light pollution and what we can do to fight it. Part of the movie, I want to touch on the philosophical aspects of astronomy, how it makes us all better beings, human beings, and treat everything around us equally, especially wildlife. And also, I want to touch on the impact that astronomy can have on children's lives. Imagine a child growing up looking at a meteor or a sky full of stars. I feel that makes a huge impact, because astronomy has inspired so many great minds throughout our history, from artists to poets to scientists. And I feel that we've lost the potential for thousands of great minds these days. Billions of children will never see the Milky Way or a sky full of stars for themselves. So I'm talking to rangers in national parks, the work that they're doing to preserve the night skies, and I'm going down to Florida to talk to the Sea Turtle Conservancy. They're doing a lot of work to conserve the sea turtles from the effects of light pollution. And I'm talking to the Audubon Society. Millions of birds are killed each year, colliding into extremely bright, heavily lit buildings. And then I'm talking to astronomers. I recently talked to an astronomer who's tracking asteroids, the same asteroids that killed the dinosaurs. So it's not just the aesthetics, it's not just the philosophical or the aesthetic effect of it. These meteors could be coming for us, right for us anytime. So it's really critical. And I want to convey all these messages in this movie. And part of it, yeah, the interviews that I did yesterday at the Dark Sky Association, talking to all the people, you're doing so much great work from educating not only people but policymakers on the effects of light pollution, and coming up with these lighting ordinances so that it's, and Tucson is a great example for it. 5 miles from downtown Tucson, you can actually see the Milky Way. That is unbelievable. So a lot of that success goes to the policy uh, uh, that IDA has helped to put in place, and we are hoping that many more cities. So Phoenix, San Francisco recently all voted to change their street lighting to dark sky friendly lighting. So we are hoping that many more cities will follow and start adopting dark sky friendly lights. And these lights, most people think that will either increase crime or reduce safety. It doesn't. These lights are actually proven. People actually prefer these lights to extremely bright white LED lights, and they save a lot of money. And these lights can be dimmed, they can be turned off at any time, and even they are environmentally better because they consume less energy. There are less greenhouse gases. So, and as a side effect, I mean, it saves a lot of money, and as a side effect, it gives us the night skies back. So all the more reason to switch to these dark sky friendly lights.
We agree. So we got a comment here that there's not a lot of sound. So this is our first time trying this. I'm just going to move the computer a little bit closer and hope that helps. And if you want to comment and let us know if you can hear us a little bit better. And I'll also just let you know that we're using Sriram's filmmaking expertise to also film this interview with a microphone that we have here in front of us. And we'll upload this interview to YouTube probably tomorrow or within the next couple of days and let you guys know when it's been posted. So I'm hoping you can hear a little bit better now. And if you're still having trouble, just submit a comment and let us know, and we'll try to fix that. But Sriram, you were just talking about your new film that you're working on, talking about light pollution and its impacts on ecology, on the environment, talking about the work that the dark sky community is doing to educate policymakers. And it's really encouraging to hear that you're diving into that type of work, because that's the same work that's really aligned with what IDA does. I feel like, have had a really great foothold on people's aesthetic desire to see the night sky. And we're really working hard to help people understand, beyond just our desire to look at stars, how our inability to do that, our inability to see the stars affects wildlife, and how bad lighting wastes energy. So there's a much bigger story to tell, and it's really fun to have you here and to be able to talk about those things, and to know that you're working on this film to help spread that message. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to say is I think as humans, we can comprehend the changes in lighting much better than wildlife. I think wildlife is impacted by light pollution much worse than we do. These beings, they cannot talk for themselves. They have no understanding of what's going on. The sea turtles, for example, it's really dejecting that these sea turtles, that when the hatchlings, the baby turtles, they go towards the condominiums and the hotels that are all the lights that are on the roads,
they're
because
confused because
they're confused.
It's a moon.
They get confused. The sea turtles look for the bright horizon. The horizon is actually lit either by the moon or just the starlight, and they actually get confused due to the lights behind the beach from the buildings, and then they go towards the beach and end up on the road getting killed, or just getting they are so lost and they never make it to the ocean.
Yeah. And we've been having conversations here at IDA thinking about the solar eclipse that's coming up soon, and talking about, how much work we're all doing to try to prepare for the solar eclipse and prepare ourselves for the disorientation that we might experience over those few minutes of darkness, or partial darkness, depending on where you are. And also thinking about, well, if we are so wrapped up in this, few moments of natural darkness during the day, what about wildlife that experiences unnatural light during the night?
Yeah, at least we have an understanding of what's going on. I cannot even, I pity those creatures that have no idea of what's going on. In a way, if you think about it, that was us 1,000 whatever
Right.
500 years ago. We had no understanding. If you look at almost every single culture has some bad omen surrounding solar eclipse or even the lunar eclipse. And that is why it's very important for children to be interested in astronomy or science, because then you start asking these questions, we become interested in what's happening around us, and we better understand better what's going on in this world. It's the interest for science that answers all these questions about the understanding about what's happening in our own world.
Yeah, when we look out and look beyond, it also makes us reflect on ourselves and where we are in the world. That's a great perspective. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your favorite experience under a night sky?
The I always talk about this time when my wife and I went to Eureka Dunes in Death Valley. So it's a place. It's a very one of the most remote places in all of California. The darkest skies you can see in California.
In Death Valley.
In Death Valley. So the darkest place in Death Valley and in California called the Eureka Dunes. So when we went there, we had driven for almost a day. I think we drove about 1,200 miles. In 2 days, and the last few hours was on backcountry dirt roads on a four-wheel drive, a jeep. We hadn't seen another human being for the near 50 miles, and we were the only people to camp there. And it felt almost like we were on a completely different planet. And I would take my wife Priya to all these when I go shoot the night skies, and she wasn't that interested in the night skies. But when we camped in Eureka Dunes, it was so dark and the Milky Way was so bright, we could actually see her own shadows.
Wow.
So she woke up in the middle of the night and stepped outside, and she was standing there for a few minutes in awe and looking at the night skies, and that was an amazing feeling. And she got hooked onto astronomy and looking at the night skies after that experience. And the point is, you don't have to go that far to Death Valley to look at the night skies. If you're in California, you can drive about 30 minutes to go to the drive about 30 minutes to go to the coast, and you see a lot more stars than you do in the city. So if you have children going out camping or even going out 30-40 miles outside the city, that would make a huge impact in children especially.
So one more comment about the sound. I'm not sure. Maybe we can try moving the computer a little bit closer. It's possible. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll just say again that we are recording this separately, so we'll upload that recording tomorrow or the next day, and we're glad to have you here. Hope that you're able to hear us, and if not, we apologize, and we'll do our best to make sure that you still get to see this soon. Sriram, why don't you tell us? Maybe we can just kind of close out by talking about this question that we asked. You talked about your experience bringing your wife under the night skies and being able to share that moment of appreciation. And we hear that a lot, actually, from people. We think of like astronomy or seeing the night sky as something very like with a lot of solitude around it. But we actually hear from people that they love sharing that experience and that it really enhances their relationship with other people, which I think is a really beautiful idea.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was interested in astronomy for a long time, for several years now, but I only started taking it more seriously after I got married to my wife. It has being able to share this experience with someone that you really like is a huge is huge, because I have a companion with me to travel to all these places, and it makes it even more enjoyable. I owe a huge thanks to my wife Priya for accompanying me to the darkest of places. Sometimes it takes days to get to some of these places, and then with hardly any food or any of the other resources, electricity or any of the other resources that you're used to enjoy in a city. So I owe a huge thanks to I dedicate all my work to my wife. And not just that, talking about astronomy to anyone, to children, to your colleagues, it's a way to share it's an enjoyable experience. The all the conversations that I have, and I've found that the people that are interested in astronomy and wilderness and nature in general are the friendliest people ever. I went to a star party in California and met so many friendly people. So the best thing I would say for anyone to do anything about light pollution is to actually go out and see these stars for yourself, and that will change your view on this problem of light pollution.
Well, thanks so much for being here and for recording this interview with us. And we hope everyone enjoys it. We want to thank you all for tuning in.